Hi, I'm James Stanford. This is my book, Shimmering Zen. This came out in 2017, and it's a 264-page full-color book, a hardbound. And like I say, it was printed in Verona, Italy, using a special ink formulation which captured the colors. It's not the standard CMYK. So a really great designer designed this, Philip Lewis of the UK. He's designed books for Anish Kapoor and the most recent book by Steve McQueen. And he works for the V&A and the Tate and the Tate Modern, and he's even done stuff in the United States at the Metropolitan and the Museum of Fine Arts. So anyway, the color is amazing. I sent them 150 actual prints, and they designed the ink and the color. They matched the color perfectly. I've really never seen this happen before, but there's a lot of color in this book. And it's about my Las Vegas inspired mandalas, which are really meditations for me. They spring from my youth and my familiarity with Las Vegas and my relationship with Zen Buddhism. And to me, they're meditative mandalas. Each one of them was a trip in and of itself.
Mention the close-up of the signage, right?
Yes. All of these images are made up of photographs. I start off with photographs of, well, the Neon Museum's collection, basically. I went in for years before there was even a Neon Museum and documented the signage of Las Vegas. And then I took bits and pieces of the signage and reflected them and created these mandala or kaleidoscopic type of imagery out of it. So it sort of runs parallel to my views on polarity, the idea of the unity of polarity. Las Vegas is Sin City, right? It's like a place where there's a lot of desire mind or samsara. But I am of the opinion that these opposites, samsara and nirvana, are on the same pole, and that you can't know one without knowing the other. You can't know good without knowing bad. You can't know light without knowing dark. So I think that the idea that this town is a desire town really enhances the opposite too, the nirvana aspect of it. Besides the fact that these beautiful signs that are so beautifully illuminated in the desert sky are in a vast desert, vast emptiness. It's almost like an island in a way of darkness, and then in the middle is this bright neon glow. And so that to me is what this book is about. It's all inspired by the neon signage of Las Vegas.
What signs are they?
Well, right now we're looking at the entire building of Circus at night. So it's the entire landscape is creating this pattern. And then this is the Aladdin Hotel, the magic lantern that I've used to create this. In the back of the book, there's some really interesting stories about how these signs got created. For instance, here's the Circus. As you can see, here's the original photograph taken of the Circus. And then this is the design that came out of it. So I have this understanding of the way asymmetrical things can turn into symmetrical pieces. And so I see it, and it sort of informs my photography. When I go out and shoot things, I'm looking at it in terms of what it would look like flipped and flopped and mirror imaged and so forth. And so I give a story of I grew up here in Las Vegas, so there's a story about every single hotel that I used. This is a wedding chapel. It's actually a group of signs that I cropped into. So these croppings are actually what create these images. And in this one, they stack jackpot and modern over casino. And I created the image like this, and when you see it, it actually just says Dern, but you see modern for some reason in the piece. And of course, nowhere but Las Vegas and the Neon Museum could you find jackpot modern. That's like two words that don't usually go together. Let me see. Now this is the Sahara A, and I came up with this particular pattern out of it. So I've been creating these images for almost 20 years now. So I just have this way of looking at the signs and being able to see these beautiful patterns out of them. This little coin castle king created this pattern here, which is really a trip. But if you look at it closely, you can see his face right here, kind of in mirror image. Even though, of course, in the context of the design, you lose the little king completely. But once you look at the initial element that went into creating it, you can kind of see how it got there. This one, Del Mar, is created out of this conglomeration of signs. This little stack of signs was just sort of a temporary display at the Neon Museum. But I saw something in it, and that became the element for this pattern here. So in some of them you can really see the neon signage, like this one, has city center, it has a lot of the downtown motel images. But I think it sort of transcends the sense of place even. There's something magical going on with these signs, and it's amazing how something like this can suddenly turn into kind of a mid-modern design. I don't know why it is that I can see that this could happen, but it's just been many years of doing it, and I know just what to do to crop it and know what photographs to take in order to achieve the kaleidoscopic effect that I like. It's fun because I've got lots of different stories for these places. I was a busboy at the Aladdin Hotel at one point. So I got lots of stories about the Aladdin and the Stardust and the Fremont. And growing up, I met quite a few entertainers and so forth at the hotels. Here is the Aku Aku and the Stardust represented. This little photo right here is the Aku Aku. It's a Polynesian restaurant that was really, really popular during the Tiki era. This piece is just made up of this little piece of a sign. I can't even remember what sign that came from. Oh, and this one is unusual. This is Fong's Garden. And Fong's Garden was a Chinese restaurant for many, many years. It still exists, this sign is still there, but it's become a Filipino restaurant, and it's not really a Chinese restaurant anymore, and there's a lot of karaoke that goes on there now. But my favorite art supply shop is right here, Desert Decor, as it used to be called, now Desert Arts, and I've been going in there since I was 10 years old. And so I thought I would include this sign. This is such an important piece for me. Wing Fong came to the United States during World War II, and my mother taught him how to speak English. So he used to hang out at my house quite a bit, and we'd go over to Fong's Garden and eat Chinese food all the time, and we just loved it. So out of it, I created this image right here, which is literally the entire landscape reflected in creating a mandala. Here's a fun one. This is the Flamingo Hilton. And the story I tell with this one, the Flamingo, is the story of my brother Monty, who's 10 years older than me. And the Flamingo Hilton was built in 1946. And of course, Bugsy Siegel, created the hotel. It was actually started by Bill Wilkerson, who owned Ciro's in L.A., and he also owned the Hollywood Reporter. And he started building the Flamingo Hotel, but he was a big gambler, and he gambled away a lot of the money. So the mob came in and offered him a way out and partnered with him, kind of drove him out of the business. But Bugsy Siegel was in charge of creating the Flamingo Hotel, and he spent way too much money on it, and we all know how he ended up. But one day my brother was 9 or 10 years old, and my oldest brother drove him over to the Flamingo in the beginning of the summer. It had just opened Christmas Day in 1946. So that spring, he went over there with his buddy and asked the foreman, who we knew, if he could go swimming and in the brand new pool, which of course was the coolest pool in town. It was like an amazing, Bugsy had amazing taste, and it was a beautiful pool. And so the foreman, just at that point, Bugsy Siegel was walking through the casino, and the foreman called him over and said, "Mr. Siegel, this is my neighbor, Monty Stanford, and he and his buddy would like to go swimming in the new pool." And Bugsy looked down at my brother and he says, "You can swim, can't you, kid? Because we don't want no floaters." So my brother said, "Yeah, I can swim like a fish." So, and he went to the swimming pool and had a really great time. So that's it.